Play. 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 Play.
What are you doing?
Trying to use a Jedi mind trick to control Stephen Hawking. Play. Play. Ugh. He must be wearing a tinfoil hat or something.
I did a bad thing.
Does it affect me?
No.
Then suffer in silence. Play. 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 Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking.
Penny started taking a class. She wrote a paper. She didn't want me to read it. I went behind her back. I read it anyway.
Stephen Hawking hates me.
I don't know what to do. The paper's terrible. If I tell her, she'll know that I read it, and she'll get really mad.
I was beating him so bad he doesn't want to be friends anymore. Why does everyone love me except Stephen Hawking?
Is it possible we're having two different conversations?
How would I know? I'm not listening to you.
Hang on. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Chess clock. We each get 5 minutes to talk about our problems. We'll take turns. Each turn will consist of a statement and a helpful response from the friend. Begin.
I humiliated Stephen Hawking in a game of words with friends. He stopped playing, and now we're not friends anymore.
He's probably busy. You're worried about nothing. Give it a couple more days. I'm sure he'll play, and you'll see that everything's fine. My turn. I can't let Penny hand in a bad paper, but how do I tell her it's bad without letting her know that I read it?
Beats me. Now, I know Hawking's not busy because I can see he's playing other people right now.
Maybe since you're so good, he's taking his time to meet the challenge. I want Penny to enjoy it.
Wallace told me he's a big baby. I didn't know that, and I played extract for 82 points. So it's all Amy's fault. She told me to play it. I've got to cut her loose.
Sheldon, I wasn't done talking. She hands in the paper tomorrow. I know I could help her. She's my girlfriend. I should be allowed to help her. Why aren't I allowed to help her?
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
You need to give me some advice.
Fine. Women, huh?
No. Specific to my situation.
Right, blonde women, huh?
Empathetic.
It sucks to be you.
I quit.
Leonard, wait. No. I listen to your dumb thing. Leonard, come back. Leonard, come back.
What?
Oh, of course. It only works on the weak-minded.
What's sad is it's true for some of y'all. We communicate that way, don't we? One person talking, another person talking, one person. We talked last week about this relationship, that this series we're doing about, we all have that relationship that's fallen apart, that's broken, that's messed up, that we got to do something about, that we got to fix in some way. We've had a relation slip. And when we talked about, really the theme verse is Romans 12:18. I told you to read Romans chapter 12, verses 9 through 21. Did you? Oh, thank goodness. I was getting worried y'all didn't own Bibles and we're going to have to start. Good. So you know that, love is sincere and hate what is evil and cling to what is good, right? Okay, just checking to see. And verse 18 is the key verse. As much as it depends on you, as far as it is possible on you, live at peace with. Okay, everyone, one another, all that kind of stuff, right? Excellent. And remember we talked about it, that really the issue is it's not you, it's... Right. You get that we can't fix them, we can't solve them. That relationship that's broken, we can't make that right. The only person we can work on is us. And so we've begun that process. And we talked about it last week with that the number one issue is time. We just don't have enough of it, and that causes that relation slip. And it's actually not just with each other, but our relationship with God. We don't have enough time with God. And so we encourage you to do some things this week. And so I hope you did. And if the number one problem with the relation slips is not enough time, the number 1A is communication. Think about how many marriages you know that have got some issues because people don't talk to each other, right? Or how many of you with children? Don't raise your hand. Just internally think on it and pray on it. With children that they have said something or you have said something and y'all weren't listening to each other and there's a issue, or siblings or co-workers. We all say and do things. And so really, what we're going to talk about today is some practical ways to work on communication from a biblical perspective. And it's real simple. It's real easy. There are only two things you need to work on. We don't listen well, and we don't talk good. My English teachers will send me an email on that in a second. But, right, you'll get it. We don't listen well, and we don't talk good. Get that figured out, and we'll be okay. Because think about it, our relationships occur because of something that we said, or something we thought we said, or something we forgot to say, or something we heard, or thought we heard, or assumed we heard. Boom. And so we got to work on it. And there's a scripture passage. I'd love for you to memorize this verse. Actually, you don't even remember. I want you to memorize the verse, and it's real easy. Know this, my dear brothers and sisters. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry or grow angry. That is not hard to memorize, people. You can memorize it this way, because you realize you're the brother or sister. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. Why don't you just say it with me? Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Life will go a lot smoother. I mean, it's one of the best things about reading the Bible. There's some brilliant stuff in there. Be quick to listen. I mean, let me ask you this. Do your conversations ever have a pause in them? Do you ever take a breath? Yesterday, I had this opportunity this week, Friday night, and all day yesterday. I got home about late last night. I went to camp. I preached at camp. They made a mistake, and they asked me to speak to 5th and 6th graders and their parents on God created by God, which was sexuality. They invited me. And people are like, you have no filter. Good Lord, what's going to happen? Kind of thing. And it was great. I had a wonderful time. Hey, parents, I'm going to let you know on a side note, if you've got a kid that's in the 4th grade right now, next year, you need to go to Created by God. It's the best thing to talk to your kid about sexuality. And if some of you are like, they don't need to know. They already do. Let's get it from the Christian perspective. Anyhow, the fun part, and Caitlin has a video I thought about showing when I saw it quick last night. There are these little 5th grade girls that came up to me. I was sitting on a rocking chair, and they came up to me, and it was like this. I was like, stop, breathe. What? I was like, have you ever experienced that with? There was a moment, I'll confess, I said it. I went, stop right here. That's why I couldn't handle girls in my house. Right? Boys, and you're done, girls. But they kept going and going and going and going. And I realized that's what we do. How many of you, when someone's talking to you, your brain is already functioning on your response? They are talking and you are thinking about what you're going to say. Right? They all said, no, not me. I'm cool. The argument is in midstream. You haven't heard a word they're saying because you've already formulated your opinion. You don't know what their point is because you're so busy trying to get ready to say your point. You only are waiting for them to go, and then you're going to jump right in. Isn't that how it works? And then we use phrases like this. He never listens to me. She just doesn't get it. Right? Be quick to listen. Actually, listening to somebody connects with one of the deepest human needs. There's this deep need within us to be heard. This deep need within us to be known. There is great power in someone that just listens to you. And are you in here, Chris? I love her. She has this incredible trait where I walk into the room and she starts talking, and I walk out of the room and she's talking, and I walk back into the room. Don, you're with me, my brother, I see. You walk back into the room, and then all of a sudden, Don, our brains go, we should have paid attention to those parts here, right? Or Jill Simpkins, you're here, Jill. We're in a meeting. I walk out of the meeting. I walk back in the meeting, and Jill says, you agree to this, don't you, Scott? Should have been listening. There's great, when listening, we had to talk about time last week because you need time to listen, to sit with them, to make eye contact with them. It shows you care. You see the progression in this scripture passage? Be quick to listen, slow to speak, be slow to become angry. How many of our relation slips would be fixed if we just heard what they were going to say? Because we're so busy not listening to them or thinking about our own thing, we're making assumptions about what they're going to say. We've jumped, my huge weakness, I jump to conclusions. Oh, yeah. I know where you're going on this, and I'm already ahead of you formulating an opinion, and I didn't hear that you actually agreed with me, so now I'm arguing with you about what I agree with because I jumped ahead. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Now, I do want to pause right here and throw in a tangent. If someone sits down with you, and if someone begins to listen to you, and if someone begins to show they care because they're spending time with you, please, 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 end the story at some point. If someone is honoring you, they're just like, right? And after you begin to listen, quick to listen and slow to speak, when you do speak, you need to speak well. Right? Patrick Leoncini, he's a business guy, but he says it in a great way, and you know this. It's to say things with repetition. Same thing over and over and over and over and over again, kind of, and in different ways, but over and over and over again. And then he says, you got to keep it simple, right? That's why we said, it's not rocket science here. We only got to work on two things. You got to listen well, and you got to speak good. All right, those two things I want you to remember walking out of here today. But I also think, we know that from a business perspective, but I also think there's something powerful. There's some phrases you need to learn. And by you, I mean we, us. Key phrases you need to learn. I love you. You need to say that a lot. There is great power in that phrase. I love you. And to who you say it to. You need to learn to say, I'm sorry. Because there's a chance you may have messed up. I know it's slim. I'm sorry. You need to learn to say, I forgive you. And when someone comes to you and they acknowledge, and they say, I'm sorry, I forgive you. You need to learn these phrases. Here's one. What can I do to help? One of the best things I learned about my wife is sometimes she just needs to get it out. And I have this tendency, I want to solve it. And so I've learned, am I just supposed to listen? Or do you need me to? And she goes, and sometimes it's just listen. And then I'll say, was there anything I can do to help? Man, I score more brownie points when I ask that question. Quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry, to learn these. But something else, you know this, speaking is more than just talking. That verbal, nonverbal communication is why when I've been watching myself on the video and I'm seeing all this going on. By the way, it's not going to change. I'm just going to slow it down a little bit so you can keep up, right? I'm a big fan of Gary Smalley's book about love languages. You need to learn to speak people's love languages. He talks about in this book, Love Languages, 5 Languages of Love, I think is the name of it. He talks about it. There's words of affirmation, there's quality time, there's physical touch, there's acts of service, and there's gifts. You can tell somebody you love them all you want to, but if you don't speak their language, like, I can tell you some of my family members, their love languages. My wife's love language is quality time. She just likes to spend time with me, which I get. I mean, who wouldn't, right? But she likes, I don't get this. She and I we can sit next to each other on the couch. I can be reading a book and she can be watching TV. And she's like, it's so good to be with you. I'm like, what? Right? Her language is just us being together, right? My mother-in-law, her language is gifts. But not, I know you're thinking like cars and trips. No. She showed up one time at our house with a huge box of Tide. Because it was on sale at Costco, and she noticed that's the brand we used. And Chris is like, no, we just used the cheapest brand, whatever was on sale at Publix kind of thing. But she always, she never shows up at our house without a gift. And it took me a while to realize, that's her language. She's a gift giver. So I can tell her I love her all I want to, but if I don't give a gift, right? My father-in-law, he was acts of service. To my knowledge, I don't know if my father-in-law, well, I hope he liked me. I can't see why. But anyhow, my father-in-law, he did something I disagree with, I'll be honest. He never really told his girls he loved them. I'm a big fan of you need to tell it. You need to say the words. But he showed it, man, whatever they needed done, he'd do. Right? Whatever he needed to do. My physical touch, that's it, a hug, all that kind of stuff. That's physical. That's the physical touch. We get that one. That's one. Oh, that makes sense to us. My oldest son, Caleb, he's words of affirmation. I'll never forget, I took a class, and I went and they told me I had to talk to all my sons about soccer. It was part of the class thing, and how they wanted me to respond to soccer. And I remember my youngest son, Jacob's like, you just yell at me, Dad. Yell a lot. It make me mad. I'm like, no problem. And I went to my oldest son, and he said, I don't want to hear you telling me what I did wrong. I know what I did wrong, Dad. I need to know what I did right. And so I had to remember from game to game when I was like Jacob, like, boy, come on, you got to play harder. You got to do something. And, and then I'm like, oh, wait, now I'm watching Caleb. Hey, man, great job. Good kick there. At one point, I felt schizophrenic when they're like back-to-back games. But you know what I was trying to do? I was trying to talk to them in the language they knew because I wanted them to know how much I loved about them. You got to learn. You got to speak their language. I think that's the same with God. It's why we've talked about this before. Some of y'all think you go to God in prayer with, oh, great thou art Jehovah. From on high, whichest thou fall. Grant me thou behavior. And I think God's up there going, what? Because when I talk to God, God is expecting y'alls, fixin', and ain'ts. In other words that we, just when you speak well. There's another verse I need you to deal with today. I want to read it. It's going to be on the screen, isn't it, Trudy? You need to memorize this verse. I know. Oh, some of you are like, we're not coming to church anymore if you're going to make us read the Bible. I want you to think about that statement. That we expect you to read the Bible and to memorize scripture verses, right? This one. First line. Can't watch football anymore. Don't let any foul words come out of your mouth. Only say what is helpful when it is needed for the building up of the community so that it benefits those who hear what you say. Don't let any foul words come out of your mouth. And I know our minds go to, oh, those are the cuss words. Let me list them out for you. Okay, sure. But sometimes we throw some pretty sharp knives with our words, don't we? We say words that are hurtful. We say words that are biting. We say words that demean people. And you can't ever take those words back. Don't let those words come out of your mouth. I was listening to one of the speakers this week talking about with parents, and she says the voice of your parents becomes your inner voice. voice of your parents becomes your inner voice. It explains sometimes when I'm talking to my kids, I'm like, my goodness, that was my dad. Don't let any words come out of here that aren't going to build somebody up. First United, what would that look like for us? If the only words in this community we said, truthfully, I'll be honest, I'd rather you cuss at me than gossip about me. I'd rather you drop those 4-letter words on me than to talk about me behind my back. I'd rather you use 4-letter words on me than to use words that demean me and devalue me and dehumanize me. And I'm using me in that. I don't think any of y'all have done that to me. But I can't talk about you. I can talk about me. And I know how much it would hurt if words were used to tear me down rather than build me up. And I know how much it hurts you when words tear you down, and how powerful it is to have those words build you up. So when we speak well. Don't let any foul words. Some scripture passages say any unwholesome talk. I like foul words better because there's a stench to when you say those things. Listen well. Speak good. Your homework for this week, 2 scripture passages to memorize. It ain't difficult. Be quick to, slow to, and slow to. Okay. And don't let any foul talk come out of your mouth. But only good and wholesome words for the building up of the community that will be helpful and beneficial for all. Memorize those scripture passages. I think it's important for you this week to find somebody that you're in a relationship with, somebody that you're close to, and this is your homework assignment. Get your pencils out so you can write this down, people. That's why you're not passing class. You're going to memorize those scripture passages, James 1:19 and Ephesians 4:29. And then there's somebody that you're close to. They need to hear from you 3 things that you appreciate about them. Someone you're close to. It can be a parent. It can be a kid. It can be a friend. It can be a coworker. 3 things that you appreciate about them. Because what you're doing is you're building the community up. That's your challenge for the week. My problem is I am really tired of this sermon series. I am 2 weeks into it and realizing this is about, I have to work on these issues. And I struggle with because I'm much better at telling you what you need to do. But it's not about you. It's about me. And here's what I realize. I can't change what I said. I have 2 teenagers living at the house. There have been some issues. As a loving, kind parent, sometimes my words haven't always been as loving and kind as they should be. You may have been there at some point in your life. I can't change the past. I can change tomorrow. The only way I can is because Christ gives me that choice, gives me that opportunity. When we break this bread and we drink this cup, all that went before is gone. All that lies ahead. It's like he's standing and whispering to me. Be quick to listen. Slow to speak. Slow to become angry. Don't let any unwholesome or foul talk come out of your mouth. Because